Welcome to Interview Strategies, the final workshop in our three-part series. My name is Jerry Flanders, and I am the workshop coordinator for CareerSource Citrus Levy Marion. Today we're going to talk about interview strategies. You'll learn how to leave potential employers with a good impression and boost your chances of getting hired. A little bit about me so you know who you're taking time to listen to today. I have spent much of my professional career as a business owner and then a workforce development professional. My formal education and training, detailed on the slide, focuses on human resources and workforce management. As workshop coordinator for CareerSource Citrus Levy Marion, I've created course material and facilitated workshops for almost 15 years to help job candidates through challenging economic times. Before the end of this workshop, we'll go over the important steps you need to do to prepare for an interview. We'll also go over interview do's and don'ts, types of interviews, and some common tricky interview questions and how to answer them. At the end of this presentation, I'll go over some frequently asked questions that will hopefully fill in any holes that I've missed. Without further ado, let's get started. Interviews don't have to be scary and nerve-wracking. I know that's easier said than done, especially if you're not familiar with today's corporate interviews. Today's interviews are different from the old relationship-driven interviews, where the interviewer was interested in learning more about the whole of your work experience, who you are as a person, and what your ambitions are. Those interviews were important at the time because employers most often hired individuals with the mindset of longevity, professional growth, and advancement. The mindset is often different today because employers aren't looking at the long term. COVID-19 is a prime example of how businesses don't know where they will be in 5 years, much less how to predict or plan for your future role. In short, they want to hire someone who genuinely wants the job for what it is, for the work and for the pay structure that they have. So if you get nervous about interviewing, congratulations, you're normal. However, one way to conquer that nervousness is by being prepared for anything that is thrown your way in the interview. So let's go over some basic interviewing tools that you can add to your toolbox. Once you're more familiar with the kinds of questions that comprise today's interview, you might benefit from a real-world practice interview with one of our team members. We'll talk more about that at the end of the presentation. The biggest piece of advice I can give you is to be you and be real. Businesses want to know you're the real deal and that the person that they see on the resume is the same person that they are interviewing. They want to hire individuals who are friendly, can play well in the sandbox, and can fit in the company's culture. Employers want to know you truly want their job and are motivated to be successful in the position. The interview is the place to convey all those things, and you'll have a chance to tell them beginning with the first question. Before the interview, you should understand what you're bringing to the table and how your skills can benefit the company. Review the job description to gain an understanding of the competencies the employer is seeking. Reflect on your skills and qualifications and how you match up to the employer's requirements. Your resume got you noticed. The competition will be keener at the interview level. Bringing copies of an updated resume to the interview is a good strategy. It's even better if you've improved upon it and are able to showcase a stronger fit. In fact, I encourage individuals to go to the interview with a folder that showcases the value you bring to the table. Before the interview, ask whether it will be a one-on-one or if other individuals will be involved. This helps you with your folder presentation and ensures that you're not blindsided when walking in to a one-on-one interview and are instead met with 5 members of an interview panel. Research the company and its products or services. Very common interview questions are, what do you know about our company? And, do you know what we do here? Being able to answer those questions shows hiring managers that you want to be at their company. Finally, rehearse your responses to behavioral interview questions. And if you need extra help to sharpen your responses, practice with a career coach at CareerSource CLM. For now, you can request to do this virtually via whatever technology you and your coach choose, whether it's Skype, FaceTime, or Zoom. You can also get some great practice with a phone interview with one of our team members. At the interview, make sure that your answers are specific, clear, and concise. Apply behavioral techniques using the S.A.R. formula, which stands for situation, action, and results. We'll go over that formula in just a little while. Know your resume from top to bottom and have examples to back up statements that you've made about yourself. Be ready to communicate what you've learned from each of your decisions and experiences, both good and bad. And in discussing the bad, talk about how you've learned from it and have adjusted the next time you are faced with a similar situation. Before we get to today's interview questions, I want to talk about the finer points of planning for the interview. The things that you definitely should and should not do. Even though many workplaces are more casual in the past, you want to stand out from the competition. So do dress business appropriate. Remember, first impressions will last through the interview. Do have a positive attitude and remain confident. Smiling is key to being friendly and open. Maintain appropriate eye contact and speak with a clear voice. It makes sense that while we are socially distancing, you forego the traditional firm handshake. But even when we return to normal, learn to take your cues from the interviewer as to whether he or she expects a handshake. Don't bring food or gum as it's distracting and rude. Make sure your cell phone is off or silent, or leave it in the car so you don't have to worry about it. Don't wear heavy fragrances or smoke before an interview. You don't want the future employer to smell you on the way in or out. Be ready to discuss your hard skills and soft skills. Your resume will likely include both. Hard skills are the essential, required skills needed to perform a specific task or activity. These skills are not always transferable to other types of work and include such skills as reading blueprints, driving a forklift, operating a computer, preparing reports, or repairing a barcode scanner. However, both hard skills and soft skills are essential to bring up in your interview in order to show a future employer that you have the skills to work with others and to get the job done right. Soft skills are often referred to as people skills or interpersonal skills and include traits that relate to the way you interact with other people, your dependability, and even your ability to focus on your work. Soft skills include things like work ethic, communication, critical thinking and problem solving, and being an effective team player. As I always describe it, employers want to know that you can play well in the sandbox together. The format in which interviews are conducted is always changing. I'm going to talk about 3 types in particular and how to excel at each. Phone interviews have become the best way to screen candidates before they step into the office. The focus is on a few questions to confirm your qualifications and other basic information. Don't be caught off guard and in a location that you can't give the call your full attention and focus. When you set up your phone interview, try to schedule it at a convenient time away from distractions such as loud background noises, children, and pets. Consider dressing up in business clothes to drive your business mindset. Even though they can't see you, smiling can keep your tone light and happy. Have water available and be prepared to take notes. The most common interview is the in-person interview, where the focus is on open-ended, behavioral, motivational, situational, and traditional questions. One-on-one interviews are typical, but panel interviews are pretty common as well. Sequential and group interviews happen occasionally, so keep your mindset flexible for any of these types of in-person interviews. For most individuals, the one-on-one interview is preferred. At the very least, you're hoping the interviewer is someone who is friendly and interested in you. The panel interview can be more intimidated because you'll walk into a room with 3 to 5 sets of eyes looking at you. Hopefully, there's a gatekeeper or a lead interviewer who is friendly and will put you at ease. However, be prepared for everyone to be all business. Often, those on a group panel may not be working with you so that they don't have a vested interest in who is hired. The panel members know their job. Ask the questions, take notes on the candidate's responses, score the candidate, and turn the notes and score over to the gatekeeper. A sequential interview usually starts with a one-on-one or a panel interview, but when the formal portion is over, you proceed to meet with other individuals, either in a formal or informal setting. If it turns out to be more informal, remember to not let your guard down. You are being assessed by everyone in the process. Finally, group interviews are most helpful when a company is starting up or recruiting quickly, so we don't see this type of interview very often. In the group interview, you and other job candidates meet with an interviewer in a group setting and respond to questions. You'll be able to see your competition, and you'll want to have a strategy for standing out. With the advancement of technology, video interviews are becoming more and more mainstream. So it may be a live interview using Skype, FaceTime, Zoom, or any number of software applications. If you're not used to this technology, it'll be helpful to get some practice. Again, this is where working with a career coach before the interview will be useful. Prepare for it like you would an in-person interview. Dress the part. Maintain good eye contact and posture. Smile, and remove yourself from distractions such as background commotion and control fidgeting and other anxious behaviors. Recorded interviews are often becoming standard as well. You'll be asked to listen to some recorded standard interview questions and then record your responses. These are not full-blown interviews, but instead consist of a limited number of questions. It gives an employer a sense of who you are and allows them to decide who will move on to the next phase of the interview process. That's the in-person interview. Interview questions can make you feel like you're taking a test with no right answers. While some job candidates will argue there are no right answers, there are certainly better responses that convey your knowledge and skill level. Interviews don't happen as frequently as they once did, and they're way more competitive. I'm here to show you a few strategies that will get you through the tough questions so you can focus on nailing the interview and landing the job. The dreaded "tell me about yourself" statement is hard for a lot of people to answer because they don't typically talk about their work experience and qualifications in their daily life. Preparing an elevator pitch before the interview can help a lot. The elevator pitch is your 2-minute drill. If you're not talking for 2 minutes, then you're not sharing enough information. If you talk for more than 2 minutes, you're sharing too much information. Your 2-minute drill is a 4-part process and should play out like this. In the first 15 seconds, tell them where you're from and your educational background. Then, in the next 30 seconds, provide a brief overview of your work history. Then, for the next 60 seconds, you'll talk about your most recent work experience in a way that connects you to the job that you're interviewing for. If your most recent job is not the work experience that connects you to the position, then begin to talk about your most relevant position that makes you an ideal fit. Finally, in the last 15 seconds, tell them why you're there. Express how you see yourself in the position and let them know you want to be a part of their company. Think about it. If you do this right, you will have brought your updated resume to life, connected your skills and work experience to showcase your ideal fit, and come across as friendly in the process. Behavioral interview questions focus on how you've handled various work situations in the past. From an employer perspective, understanding your past performance is considered one of the best ways to predict your future performance. Your response will reveal your skills, abilities, and personality. So instead of asking how you would behave, an employer will ask, how did you behave? You can recognize a behavioral question because it usually starts out with, tell me about a time, or describe a situation, or give me an example of. The key to your response is making sure that you talk about a specific example. In other words, don't tell the interviewer what you would do. Instead, tell them what you did and share your story of this specific situation. Some typical behavioral interview questions include, tell us about a time you had conflict with a coworker and what you did to resolve it. Give us an example of a work-related goal you reached during the past year and identify some of the obstacles you had to overcome to reach it. Tell us about a time you had to manage a difficult customer and how did you overcome the issues. Describe a decision you made that was unpopular but necessary and how you handle its implementation. So the magic in answering a behavioral interview question is to use the 3-step S.A.R. technique. S.A.R. is the acronym that reminds you to S, describe the situation, that is, relate what happened. A, action, talk about the action you took, tell what you did and why. R, summarize the results that occurred. So share the outcome of your action. Let's say you were asked, give me an example of a goal you reached and how you achieved it. Using the S.A.R. method, you would first explain the situation. Upon accepting the position of National Sales Manager, I set up a team of 10 salespeople based in 3 states. Then explain your actions. By focusing on communication, motivation, and goal setting. Finally, share your results. I exceeded demanding sales targets in each of the 4 years I held the position. So altogether, a response to that question using the S.A.R. method sounds like this. Upon accepting the position of National Sales Manager, I set up a team of 10 salespeople that were based in 3 states. By focusing on communication, motivation, and goal setting, I exceeded demanding sales targets in each of the 4 years I held the position. all while developing a high-performance team of territory managers. Let me share a typical question and sample response in the medical field. So the question is, tell us about a time you had to manage a difficult patient and how did you overcome the issues? So listen closely to the S.A.R. formula as I share the response. S, the situation. One day in February, I was on the morning shift, and when I went to see my first patient, the charge nurse told me that this person was being difficult. Once I looked at her chart, I knew she had experienced a difficult night. A, my action. So I told her I could see it was a bad night, and while I couldn't change any of that, I was going to take really good care of her this morning. I took care of my duties and asked if there is anything else I could do to make her comfortable. She didn't respond, so I told her that I would come back and check on her later. When I left her room, I immediately gave an update to my shift supervisor. So R, the results. When I returned, I was cordial and cheerful with her. She began to open up about her bad experience. I empathized with her, and she eventually apologized for starting off the day with a bad attitude. I updated my shift manager about the outcome. The patient continued to be cooperative for the rest of the week. When she was released, she told me how much she appreciated me being there to help with her care. Through their questions, employers are evaluating potential employees for skills, capabilities, communication style, and critical thinking. Most important, they're using your previous experience as a guide to how likely you're to perform in a given situation. Be sure to review all the behavioral interview questions in the handout linked below and decide what situation you'll shape your story around. Even though there are over 30 different behavioral questions identified there, you'll not need a different example for each question. For most individuals, finding the right 4 to 8 situations can go a long way to answering most of the questions. Remember, you have your entire work history to come up with the best example. Even if the situation goes back a long time ago, just use the S.A.R. formula to tell your story and stay on track. Practice answering some of these questions using the S.A.R. method with someone you know, or better yet, a career coach at CareerSource Citrus Levy Marion. Now that you know what to do when you're asked a question, it's time to figure out a few questions to ask a future employer. Plus, how you end an interview so that you make a lasting impression long after you're gone. When the interview is coming to a close and a hiring manager asks, "Do you have any questions for me?" always say yes. It's important to have questions to keep an employer engaged and to let them know that you've taken the time to think about the position. This is not a time to ask about money, vacation, or company benefits. Some thoughtful questions might include, "I've studied the job posting and have a sense of the position, but can I ask what a typical day would be like in this role?" Or, "Now that you know more of my skills and qualifications and work experience, is there any aspect of those items you feel you want to know more about today?" Or lastly, "What can I expect of your interview process and your hiring decision?" Once the interview is over, offer a smile and a positive thank you. Give a sincere closing statement that reaffirms your keen interest in the position and your confidence in being successful in the position. Once the interview is over, ask for business cards and then exit quickly. Either a handwritten note or email or voicemail thank you expression is important as a follow-up, and it must be done within 24 hours to have an impact. If you choose email or voicemail, be sure to send the message or make the call at the end of the day so it will pop up first thing in the morning. While HR folks are appreciative of your thank you, it also demonstrates you know all the little steps and strategies to stand out in the competition. We've gone over a lot of information, but some key takeaways include practicing your response to interview questions like, "Tell me about yourself." Also, practice the use of the S.A.R method, situation, action, results, to simple behavioral interview questions. If you need more help, mock interviews are great tools to get you more comfortable in talking professionally about your work experience. CareerSource CLM has a team of knowledgeable career coaches that can help you for free. Questions. These are the top questions I get when we do live workshops. So the first question is, if my resume gets me noticed and an invitation to the interview, doesn't that mean it should be good enough? Do I really need to update it? Here's my response. I oftentimes see individuals that get invited to an interview, but when I look at their resume and the job posting, I know it should be improved upon. When you receive the invitation to the interview, review your resume and the job posting and ask yourself, does this resume showcase my best fit? If it does, then run with it. However, if it doesn't, then update your resume and bring your updated resume to the interview. Remember, the competition will be keen, and all the work you do in updating your resume will get you better prepared for the interview. The next question, is it okay to follow up with the interviewer after the interview to show how motivated I am to get the job? And my response is this. In today's business environment, HR folks aren't sitting around to field calls from motivated job candidates. Be respectful of their time and avoid interrupting their day. A follow-up email or voice message sent at the end of the workday that conveys your continued interest in the position and desire to be part of their company can be an appropriate strategy. My last question is, I've found that interviews are hard to come by. How can I stay in practice if I don't get interviews on a frequent basis? Well, the very best way to stay in practice is through role-play interviews. By working with a career coach and participating in mock interviews, you keep your head in the interview. You perfect your responses to today's interview questions, and you feel more confident when the real interview counts. If you have any questions about interview, feel free to send me an email. I'm here to help as well. If you need interview preparation help or would like to get in touch with one of our career coaches, set up an appointment through email, phone, or video conference. Thank you for being with me today, and remember that you can find links and downloadable content in the description box. Good luck on your next career move, and I hope to see you in the future.